In this lesson, we will be simplifying fractions. Before we jump into actually simplifying fractions, I want to quickly talk about the greatest common factor, or the GCF. This is a term that I'm going to use as we simplify fractions, so I want to make sure that you fully understand it. The greatest common factor when simplifying fractions is the largest common factor for both the numerator and denominator. I like to think of it as the largest number that is divisible by both the numerator and denominator. So let's first talk about 4/6. 4/6 is a fraction, and I have a 4 in the numerator and a 6 in the denominator. So I want to think of what factor is the greatest factor for 4 and 6, or what is the largest number that is divisible by 4 and 6. So what number can I divide 4 and 6 by that will give me a whole number? So I know that 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. Therefore, 2 is the GCF, or the greatest common factor, because that is the greatest number that we can divide 4 and 6 both by and still end up with a whole number as an answer. Okay, so we're going to use this as we simplify fractions. So let's start by simplifying the fraction 15/24. Now, you may have directions on your paper that say, make sure that your fraction is in lowest terms, or simplify the following fraction, or maybe even reduce the following fractions. All of these directions mean the exact same thing, and it means that this particular fraction is not in the simplest form. It's not in lowest terms. We can reduce each of these numbers and make them smaller, but still maintain the value of the fraction. So what we need to do is we need to figure out the greatest common factor for 15 and 24, or what number can we divide 15 and 24 both by that will still give us a whole number. So knowing 15 and 24, I know that they are both divisible by 3. And I believe 3 is the largest common factor. So I'm going to divide the numerator by 3 and the denominator by 3. And that's what is most important when simplifying fractions. That whatever you do to the numerator, you have to do to the denominator in order to keep the value of that fraction. So as long as you're dividing both the numerator and denominator by the same number, you are okay. So 15 divided by 3 is 5, and 24 divided by 3 is 8. And then I want to look at these two numbers and just make sure that there's no other factors that are common for these two numbers. And there aren't. So 5/8 is the lowest term for 15/24. Now what this means is 15/24 is equal to 5/8. They're worth the same amount. But my numerator and denominator are written in the lowest terms for 5/8. They're not in lowest terms for 15/24. Okay, so simply when you're simplifying fractions, just think of the greatest common factor for both the numerator and denominator and divide both of them by the same number in order to simplify your fraction.